Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Agile Situation Room. This is where we take a look at questions of an agile nature. Let's jump into our next set of questions in round 3. You are a Scrum Master in a new Agile project to implement an operations tracking system for the city of Houston. Team members are hesitant to share their progress openly. What should you do next to promote transparency and trust within the team? A. Encourage the use of storyboards and Kanban boards for individual tracking. B. Use a centralized work performance report with cost, schedule, and scope metrics. C. Foster a culture of customer collaboration and Kaizen-mindedness for improvement. D. Foster a culture of openness and encourage team members to share their progress. Hit the pause button for more time. Now, jumping straight into the logic behind these questions, let's start off with option A. Encourage the use of storyboards and Kanban boards. This is not a bad thing to do, but it might be a little bit prescriptive. Also, note that it says for individual tracking. Individual tracking does not equate to open progress sharing. So it's not A. Taking a look at B, use a centralized work performance report with cost, schedule, and scope metrics. This sounds more like predictive, so it is probably not the best answer. We will cancel it for convenience and move on. C. Foster a culture of customer collaboration. That is not bad. But what is the problem? Hesitance. It seems as though this addresses a different problem and not the problem at hand. It also talks about Kaizen, continuous improvement, which is different from transparency and trust that we are trying to promote. So while C is agile, it does not address the actual problem. So the best answer is actually D. Foster a culture of openness and encourage team members to share their progress. Let's move on to the next question. Question 12. You are a product owner in an organization where different teams are working on interconnected projects. However, the lack of information sharing has led to delays and confusion. What should you do next to enhance transparency and trust among teams? Is it A, keep project updates visible exclusively to management to maintain trust and control? B, encourage sharing confidential information openly across the project? C, maintain visible information radiators to show real team performance? D, encourage centralized decision-making with the project manager as a single point of contact for all communications. Hit the pause button if you need more time. Let's examine these questions a little bit further, or these options a little bit further. Option A, keep project updates visible. That sounds good, but then it changes to be dark and sinister. Exclusive. No, that's not agile, so we're going to get rid of that. Making it exclusive to management does not enhance transparency. and trust among teams, because you are hiding what the different teams are working on and making it only available to management. Also realize who you are. You're a product owner. This is not a good approach. B, encourage sharing confidential information across the project, openly across the project. It's confidential. You shouldn't encourage sharing confidential information openly. That is talking about a different type of information. So it could actually lead to a more serious problem. Option C, maintain visible information radiators to show real team performance. I'm guessing that you may be aware of what an information radiator is. It could be an electronic display board or a manual display board, like a whiteboard, that makes important information available as the team sees fit. That is not a bad idea. Let's take a look at D. Encourage centralized decision-making with the project manager as a single point of contact for all communications. This is not in the spirit of Agile. This is saying throttle all communications through one source, a project manager. Not ideal. Since we see a product owner being mentioned, we know that this is an Agile environment. So the best answer here, my friends, is C, maintain visible information radiators. Taking a look here, it says maintain visible information radiators to show real team performance. Maintaining visible information radiators enhances transparency and trust among teams by providing real performance data. If you haven't taken a look at the definition of an information radiator, I encourage you to. Number 13. You're the project manager in a highly competitive industry where team members are afraid to take risks or experiment with new approaches. What should you do next to create a safe and trustful environment that encourages experimentation and learning? Is it A, encourage team members to seize trying new approaches to maintain stability? B, foster a culture where team members feel comfortable experimenting and making mistakes? C, rewards team member efforts for strict adherence to existing methods to minimize errors? D, recognize team members publicly for any great additions or mistakes during projects? Hit the pause button if you need more time. Let's take a look at the options starting from the bottom up. Option D, recognize team members publicly for any great additions. That's great. But it also says all mistakes. Public shaming is not in the spirit of Agile. We'll cancel that. C, rewards team member efforts. That sounds good. But then it changes and says for strict adherence to existing methods. Now, we're trying to encourage experimentation and learning. This does not. This says, I'll reward you if you don't experiment. So it cannot be C. That leaves us with A and B. Let's read B. Foster a culture where team members feel comfortable experimenting and making mistakes. Seems like that's what we're trying to do. A says encourage team members to seize, stop trying new approaches, not in the spirit of Agile. So when you boil it down, the best answer, my friends, is B. Foster a culture where team members feel comfortable experimenting and making mistakes. And here's the answer. Foster that culture. Option B. Fostering a culture that allows experimentation and mistakes helps create a safe and trustful team environment and promotes learning and improvement. Number 14. As a Scrum Master, you've noticed that some team members are hesitant to share their ideas or experiment with new techniques. What should you do next to encourage a safe and trustful team environment that fosters creativity and learning? Is it A, encourage maximized discussions during the daily Scrum to prevent conflicts? Is it B, share a glossary of terms with the team and make the project manager available for discussing ideas? Is it C, encourage open dialogue and collaboration on new techniques and ideas? Is it D, isolate team members to avoid conflicts and distractions? Hit the pause button if you need more time. Let's examine the answers. We'll start from A this time. Encourage maximized discussions during the daily Scrum to prevent conflicts. We don't discuss during the daily Scrum to prevent conflicts. When it says maximize discussions, this gives the illusion that we should be free to discuss as much as we want. This does not sound like the right answer, even though it does sound positive. Maximize discussions during the daily Scrum sounds like a trap for derailment. So we're going to question that. But it may end up being the best, so let's not disqualify it just yet. B, share a glossary of terms with the team and make the project manager available for discussing ideas. What are we trying to do? Create a safe, trustful environment that fosters creativity. Making a central figure available for discussing ideas on a one-on-one basis is not agile. We are going to cancel that. Remember who you are, the Scrum Master. This sounds contrary to the agile grain, so we'll get rid of B and go to C. Encourage open dialogue and collaboration on new ideas, techniques, and ideas. That doesn't sound bad. Let's take a look at option D. Isolate team members to avoid conflicts and distractions. In other words, you don't want conflict. Avoiding conflict may not always be in the team's best interest, and isolating team members is definitely not agile. So we're left with A or C. Encouraging maximized discussions during the daily Scrum sounds like a lot of back and forth that needs to happen. This may not be the best use of our 15 minutes. But if we keep it vanilla flavored, encouraging open dialogue and collaboration across the board, not just during the daily Scrum, because what happens when you get out of the daily Scrum? Won't you collaborate and dialogue with each other? And that's why the best option is C. Option A sounded positive for a minute, but when you look under the hood, you realize it really is not the best option. So option C, encouraging open dialogue and collaboration, is the preferred answer. And the rationale is encouraging open dialogue and collaboration on new techniques and ideas fosters a safe and trustful team environment that promotes creativity and learning. All right, we are doing very well for time. Let's move to our final question. You are a product owner in a team that has been struggling to embrace new techniques and processes. Some team members are resistant to change. What should you do next to create a safe and trustful team environment that allows experimentation and learning? Is it A, encourage experimentation and provide incentives for desired behaviors? Is it B, address the resistance? during iteration planning and proceed with new techniques? Is it C, hold a retrospective to implement new techniques while explaining their benefits? Or is it D, reward team members for resisting change? This sounds very gray in between the options. So let's read what exactly we are meant to be doing here one more time. What should you do next to create a safe and trustful team environment that encourages experimentation? So A doesn't sound bad. B, address the resistance during iteration planning. That's not a very good place to address resistance. Probably the retrospective would have been better. We'll cancel that. C, hold a retrospective to implement new techniques while explaining their benefits. It's saying you're trying to create an environment. Waiting all the way to the end of the project for a retrospective to implement new techniques that might immediately add value could be looked at as rather reactive. In addition to that, it says you're the product owner. It's not your place to implement techniques. This is what the team does. So your job here is to create a safe environment. We're not talking about implementing techniques. This is a red herring. While it's not a bad thing to do, number one, it's done by the team. Number two, probably won't be a retrospective. It's making us think of good things that are not related to the question at hand. So this is not a good answer. D, rewarding the team for resisting change, doesn't make sense. So the best answer here, my friends, is actually A, encourage experimentation and provide incentives for desired behaviors. The summary is beware of red herrings, my friends. So again, best answer was A, encourage experimentation and provide incentives for desired behaviors. Encouraging experimentation and providing incentives for desired behaviors helps create a safe and trustful team environment that promotes learning and improvement. Thank you for joining me in the Situation Room today for Agile. Remember, if you're looking for training, coaching, and help, go on down to the website, Praizion.com. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much, and all the very best in your prep, be it for the ACP or the PMP. If you're getting ready for the ACP, you can also find a course that will help you prepare at Praizion.com. Bye for now.